Hey folks, I'm Red Monster SC, and in this video, we're going to introduce the newly released mining gadgets, walk through how to deploy, calibrate, and recover them, as well as share some of the best practices to keep in mind when fitting them into your current mining loadout. So stick around to learn everything you need to know about mining gadgets in Star Citizen. I've broken the video timeline up into chapters, so check the description for specific timestamps, or hover over the progress bar to skip ahead. I've also linked to each of my previous videos in the mining tutorial series if you wanted to take a deeper dive. Check those out in the description as well. Now let's get started. Mining gadgets are small, portable, reusable devices that you affix to an ore deposit to alter its parameters, providing various bonuses and downsides to make rocks easier to fracture. These bonuses work in addition to those offered by your mining laser or mining modules, allowing you to extend the functionality of your fixed laser and module setup. They're brand new as of Alpha 3.17 and help to round out the hardware ecosystem for mining gameplay. While mining lasers and modules need to be equipped at a station prior to beginning your mining run, you can carry multiple mining gadgets out into the field and only use the ones that you need for a particular situation. This added flexibility makes mining gadgets a must-have for solo miners, helps complement fixed loadouts used in group mining sessions, and makes it much easier to turn a profit in a rented prospector. Each gadget needs to be placed on the rock, calibrated, and then activated in order for the bonuses to be applied. And once the rock is fractured, you can go recover the gadget to be used again. As a quick note, you can use multiple mining gadgets on a single rock to combine their bonuses, although they each have their own downsides, which might need to be considered before you start stacking them together. Mining gadgets can be bought at any of the refinery stations, Shubin Interstellar at New Babbage, Tammany & Sons in Lorville, and Dumpers Depot on Port Olisar, and they cost between 12,000 and 28,000 UEC per gadget. Once purchased, the mining gadgets will show up in your local inventory and will need to be transferred into your vehicle's inventory or your backpack before you head out on your mining expedition. Each gadget takes up around 15,000 micro SCU of storage, which allows you to carry 2 or 3 gadgets in a light backpack and up to 6 gadgets in a heavy backpack. You can also affix 1 additional gadget to the outside of your backpack using the highlighted attachment port. There are 6 unique mining gadgets to pick from, each offering a different set of bonuses and trade-offs. They focus on either instability or resistance reduction and range from what I consider general purpose to more specialized in the benefits offered. The following stats are based on the initial release of mining gadgets in Alpha 3.17 and are subject to change as they might balance things out in the future. You can always find updated cheat sheets on my Discord server or by visiting redmonstergaming.com. Just follow the links in the description. Stalwart provides a 30% resistance reduction and a 100% optimal charge rate. This is useful when you need to speed up the fracturing process, but can be very dangerous if you accidentally overcharge due to the added 200% overcharge rate and 15% instability increase. Waveshift provides an improved 40% resistance reduction, shifting some of the benefits around from the Stalwart, as well as a much lower risk when overcharging. Boremax offers a very desirable 75% resistance reduction, which will be the most useful for breaking large deposits, but it will take longer to break. The downsides are fairly minimal, so I'd recommend starting here if you need help breaking bigger rocks. Optimax offers a moderate 20% instability reduction, combined with 35% optimal charge rate and a 20% larger optimal charge window. I see this as a beginner-friendly combination of benefits, and the only downsides are a slight resistance increase and a moderate shatter damage increase. Okunis offers a better 40% instability reduction, along with a 100% optimal charge rate. This gadget balances instability with charge rate, but the overcharge rate is also a dangerous downside to be aware of. You should avoid using multiple Okunis gadgets or stacking the Okunis and Stalwart gadgets together. Sabir provides a 75% instability reduction, which can be useful when breaking Quantanium or Borays, which will have high instability when they appear together, but also decreases charge time significantly and gives you a smaller optimal charge window to work in. While I want to be excited over the bonuses the Sabir offers, I think its benefits are best realized when used on the concentrated subfragments of volatile materials, which means you'll be deploying and collecting it several times if you really need it to break down a rock. That's a lot of potential time lost when you could be mining something else. Like and subscribe now if you're enjoying this video, and leave a comment if you notice anything that isn't clear or might have changed in future game versions. Now that we know what gadgets are, let's talk about when and how to use them. There are a few use cases where I can see gadgets being very helpful. Mining in a rented vehicle, mining large mass deposits, and for group mining sessions. Rented vehicles can't be customized in any way, meaning that if you're renting a prospector to get your first experience ore mining, you're stuck with the stock loadout and no mining laser or mining modules to help. That limits what type of materials you can go after, as well as how large the deposit can be for you to successfully fracture it. Playing around with mining gadgets might help you expand the limited range of the rented prospector and help make your initial mining experience a bit more enjoyable. For large deposits, even if you have an optimized loadout, you may find yourself staring at a 6K, 7K, or even 8K mass rock with a charge level bar that just doesn't seem to budge. In cases like that, you'd have to call in a friend to help you get that first break, or leave the rock behind. But now, you can deploy a mining gadget, or a combination of multiple gadgets, to help you get that first break. And lastly, for group mining sessions where you have separate crews for mining and surveying. If you have a surveyor who goes out and finds mineable deposits for you, it could be helpful for them to carry along a few mining gadgets that they can deploy prior to the mining ships arriving, and then they can collect it after the first break before continuing to survey. This could be helpful when it's clear that the deposit is a high mass or high instability, and your mining ship is going to need a little extra help. That being said, these aren't the only circumstances where I think mining gadgets could be helpful, but just a few of the more practical use cases I could think of. If you found other ways to make use of mining gadgets, I'd love to hear about it in the comment section below. Once you've found a mineable deposit you want to use a mining gadget to fracture, it's time to deploy it. First, if you're out in space, just line yourself up next to the deposit and let your ship come to a complete stop. If you're on a planet's surface, you'll need to land near the deposit in an area where you'll be able to return to the ship safely. Try to find a flat surface to land on, avoiding valleys or ridgelines that might prevent you from being able to get back into your vehicle. And make sure that your vehicle won't get blown around by any winds. Next, exit the pilot seat and make sure you've transferred your desired gadgets from the vehicle inventory to your backpack. As you get to the ore deposit, open your personal inventory by pressing the I key, then place the mining gadget into your hands by dragging it over the appropriate highlighted marker. With the gadget now in your hands, hold the F key to interact with it and select the Place option located on the top right. As you align the gadget for placement, you need to make sure that it's going to be in a position that makes it easy to interact with, and that you can get a clear view of the interface. Try to avoid placing it too high on the rock face or on uneven surfaces that will give it an odd placement angle. You'll see a preview of where the gadget will be placed, and once you've got the desired placement lined up, you can left click to confirm placement. If you don't like where the gadget ended up, you can remove it from the deposit using the detach button on screen. Once detached, the gadget will show back up in your character's hands. If you've already activated the gadget, you'll need to deactivate it first before removing it. Once placed, mining gadgets need to be calibrated and then activated in order to apply their modifiers. Calibration is done by matching the gadget's signal waveform to that of the deposit by tuning the propagation, field range, and axial scatter parameters to cause both waveforms to overlap as closely as possible. The gadget can be activated once you reach at least a 90% waveform match. There's no benefit of having a higher percentage match, so you don't need to worry about getting it perfect. While this process might seem complicated, it can be mastered with a little practice, and you'll get a much better feel for the process after calibrating a few times. As far as the calibration parameters, I'd love to be able to tell you the exact definition for each parameter and what it does to the waveform, but we just haven't been given that information yet. What I can tell you about each of them is just what I've been able to observe during my own testing. If we get an official definition of each, then I'll be sure to post it on the pinned comment below. Propagation seems to shift the starting point of the first wave from left to right along the horizontal axis, and has an effect on the overall height of the waveform. Field range affects the waveform width, allowing you to stretch or narrow the waves to get a more precise overlap of the peaks and valleys. Axial scatter affects how high and low the waveform gets, starting from a midpoint on the vertical axis. Leveling out or intensifying the peaks and valleys. Now for the actual process of calibration. While holding the F key to interact with the gadget, you'll need to adjust the sliders to get the waveforms to match. Throughout this process, you'll need to keep an eye on the waveform matching percentage to see when the adjustments are increasing or decreasing the percentage match. To start, I like to find a low point in the deposits waveform and try to line it up with a low point for your calibration waveform by adjusting the propagation slider. Next, you want to adjust the waveform width so that the peaks and valleys are at a matched interval. To accomplish this, adjust the field range until the widths are approximately matched. And last is to get the appropriate height of the peaks and valleys by adjusting the axial scatter. Throughout each step of this process, you should expect to switch between parameter sliders to achieve the best fit, since they do interact with each other. Sometimes an adjustment to one parameter won't provide any improvements, but that can be resolved by making an adjustment to one of the other parameters. Just make small, incremental adjustments to one parameter to see what improves your matching percentage, then alternate to another parameter until you've got an acceptable matching percentage. Through some trial and error, you should be able to find a suitable combination of settings which can get you to 90% or better. With the gadget deployed and calibrated, you can return to your ship and begin the process of fracturing the rock. While in mining mode, you should see an additional icon present on your heads-up display indicating that the mining gadget is active, and its bonuses should be applied automatically. If you have multiple active gadgets on the same deposit, you'll see a separate icon for each gadget and a small number indicator in the bottom right of the gadget icon when you have more than one of the same gadget type. Once affixed to the deposit, the gadget will stay there until it's removed, destroyed, or you fractured the parent rock. They can also despawn if you travel more than a few kilometers away. If you shoot at a gadget or hit it with the mining laser, it can explode, dealing a potentially fatal injury to a player in EVA, but not enough damage to affect a ship. In addition, if you overcharge the rock at all, it's possible that the overcharge energy will destroy the gadget. After the rock is fractured, the surviving gadget will fall to the ground or float a few meters away in space, and a set of highly visible red flashing lights will activate, making it easy to locate. You'll need to exit the ship to retrieve the gadget on foot, or get within range to use the multi-tool's tractor beam to pull it in. It is possible, and very likely, that you could lose mining gadgets due to any number of factors, including current game bugs or an unintended overcharge. When I was using multiple gadgets on the same rock during my testing, I noticed I was only able to recover about half of the gadgets I deployed, but I was able to recover most of the gadgets I deployed when I was only attaching one per rock. Individual results may vary, but that's something to consider before you decide to throw a dozen gadgets at the same rock. Now let's consider some of the best practices for mining gadgets use. First, I would consider gadgets an optional part of your equipment loadout for most miners, specifically if you already have a reasonable ship loadout. If you're renting a prospector and don't have the ability to change out lasers and modules, then I think it becomes more of a necessity. I do not see this as something you need to use every rock you come across, and probably useful for 1 out of every 5 rocks. Second, because of the time you need to spend in EVA attaching, calibrating, and retrieving a gadget, I would suggest only using the gadget for the first break and optimize your laser and module combinations to handle the sub-fragments of whatever you expect to mine. Each time you have to EVA out to manage a gadget, you spend time that could be better used scouting for your next rock, and you risk something happening to prevent you from getting back into your ship. If you have to do this for each sub-fragment on a rock, you could easily end up tripling the amount of time it takes to harvest a single deposit. Third, you need to be very cautious about some of the gadget downsides when combining multiple gadgets, since they can form some very dangerous combinations. Having one gadget with a 200% increase in overcharge rates, combined with a different gadget that increases instability, is a quick recipe for disaster. For a solo miner, you're more likely to need resistance reduction in case you find a large mass rock. 3 of the gadgets have resistance reduction built in, with the Bormax being the clear choice based on its great bonuses, minimal downsides, and low total cost. For multi-crew, there are a few gadgets that might provide some benefits, although nothing is going to replace a proper mining laser and module combination. If we get to the point in the future where we have rocks in the 10 to 20,000 mass range or beyond, then it's possible that you might need to start carrying gadgets around as part of your loadout, but in the current state of the game, I just don't think they're necessary for a good multi-crew setup. Out of the 6 gadgets available, there are 3 of them that I think will be used more commonly. The Optimax, which has a beginner-friendly combination of instability, optimal charge window, and optimal charge rate boosts. The Bormax, which is a clear choice when facing large mass rocks. And the Sabir, with a massive instability reduction to help make a rock's charge level more manageable. And there you have it, everything you need to know about mining gadgets in Star Citizen. If you've got questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below, and check the pinned comment on this video for any corrections or additional details. You can connect with me on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and Discord by following the links in the description. And last of all, like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, because, let's face it, there are a lot more scared rocks in Stanton right now because of you.